Last word is here. It's Friday. It's 1 o'clock in the Eastern time zone. So I'm more than halfway through my day. Jodi, you are as well. And KP, you're just getting started, buddy. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. It's good to be here. I'll tell you what, this is definitely going to be the highlight of my day.
Well, that's good. That's a high bar to clear for us.
Well, Jodi's in Cleveland, so I think the bar's low.
Jodi's in Cleveland or outside of Cleveland. Robbie, who's backstage, is in Cleveland. He and the elder Chrisman are at the Union Home Mortgage event in Cleveland, and we're here doing our thing on a Friday afternoon.
Life is good.
So we'll just kind of go a little potpourri of topics to kind of talk about some of the things that I saw this week that came out. There was just in the last day or so, I think it was the 13th, JDPowers Associates had a press release releasing their mortgage originations customer satisfaction survey. So we could talk a little bit about that. I did a post on it that has got some good debate going on. We've got, Greg Scher had a post earlier in the week that he posted a clip from CNBC that asked the question, are banks ready and willing to re-enter mortgage, right, with the new administration? We've got, of course, market updates. KP, your wheelhouse. I know I caught your video from your rooftop of the Culver City project last night.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one.
And then whatever you guys want to talk about, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, I missed last week. I apologize. I was road warrioring it for a little bit there.
It's all good. We missed you.
Well, you do such a good job with the boxing charity that you guys raise money for in Detroit, and I have a buddy who's paralyzed mid-chest down, and I've known him since kindergarten. And after college, he went to Texas Tech. He got hit by someone who ran a four-way stop sign, and so we raise money for him every year. We have a golf tournament on a Friday, and then a raffle that night, and it's just I was in no condition to be on a podcast from my golf course.
Yeah.
Not to mention it was raining and muddy, but it's for our buddy. But yeah, it's good to be back. I missed it, just in case there's anything controversial about talking about the election or results or anything like that. Probably worth mentioning. I've been looking all week to see if any housing nuggets are going to come out of President-elect Trump's, him putting together his cabinet and this and that. And I haven't really seen anything. And to be honest, I have not looked at the news today at all. So if he named someone or tapped someone for some position, I would have missed it today. But I haven't seen anything. Although I'm intrigued to see RFK as the Department of Health and Human Services. It was very interesting because he, and again, I don't care about politics, so I'm not care to get anybody making anyone feel any type of way. But he is obviously from a historic family, and his father was killed, and in the primaries, Bobby Kennedy, right? So. This dude's old, he's jacked, he looks healthy, he's online taking pictures of his shirt off all the time, kind of like Putin, and so, he wants to make America healthy again. I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but man, I'm intrigued, let's have better food and let's find a way to make us healthy. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to come into my living room and make me get up earlier and exercise. Like, I don't know, but that's my hot take on all the political landscape at the moment. If you guys dare to speak about it.
Wait till it comes out that his diet consists of chicken nuggets. Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing like you want him to be like a Richard Simmons commercial. Get up and make you move.
I love Richard Simmons. R.I.P. By the way.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing that the only thing I've heard about him and his policies, and it could be rumors, I've done no fact checking, is that he wants to remove fluoride from water.
Right.
Don't know why. I'm a kid who grew up on well water where
Same.
you had like the entire, small town, and you had to do.
And look at your smile. It's great.
I think it has a lot more to do with genes than what was in the water. But we had to do fluoride swishes at school.
Yeah, I remember that.
There wasn't fluoride in the water, and kids who did not go through that. I mean, there's like stereotypes about Appalachia for a reason, but it has to do with it being on well water and spring water and not having the resources and the fluoride that's needed.
Were you deflecting my Cleveland shot over to Appalachia? I like it. So.
Yeah. So I'm not in Cleveland yet today. So I'm at the farm right now. I'm heading up there right after the show. I'm going to try to get Rob and Robbie to sneak away and have a drink with me when I'm on my way to my event. Yeah, I can twist their arm. I'm like,
yeah, bring a cigar, and Robbie's in. He'll run through traffic for you. Hey, speaking of states, is kind of remind me of like a random fact I read a couple weeks ago. So Mississippi is the poorest state in America, and the standard of living in Mississippi is higher than all the G7 nations, all of them. And so we do have it pretty good here, regardless of how everyone feels after. Does anyone even talk about the election anymore, right? So we do have it. We have it pretty good in America, and retail sales came out a little stronger today too. So I guess boomers are still spending.
Yeah.
I think the only problem is the concern over not decreasing short-term interest rates again. So I think that's going to be our biggest hurdle in the industry is investors prematurely gauging what that's going to look like and interest rates, the 10-year going higher.
Yeah, like Brian said, it's in my wheelhouse. So I checked this morning. We're like at 4:45. I just checked, maybe 20 minutes ago before we hopped on. What's interesting is after the CPI report on Wednesday, which was definitely the biggest tier 1 data point this week, the odds of a December 25 basis point rate cut in according to the CME tool, the Fed funds futures betting market, if you will, or it's really a futures market, went from 55% to 82%. So, so the bond traders and the smart money, with less than 5 weeks to go to the next meeting, after that report are trying to lock in at least another 25 basis points. And so now what will be interesting is on December 18th, that's the next time they show their dot plot. And so we'll see the summary of economic projections. So this past meeting last week, they didn't have to show that. This next one, they do. So do they still see another 100 basis points next year? Because when, and I think they will, when they do a 25 basis point in December, that will have been 100 so far. And then the last dot plot in September said another 100 basis points of cuts next year. Will it still say that? Will it say 75? Will it only say 50, which is what the market is pricing in right now? Mm-hmm. So you can look at the 2-year yield and you see the Fed funds rate come down to that number. That's where the market thinks they're going to stop. Obviously, 10-year yield impacts our mortgage rates, which is having a little bit of a trouble getting over that 445 number and staying over it. So we'll see if this is like a test of resistance and then bounce back down, or if there's something to make it push on through. So I haven't looked at the calendar next week. I don't even know what the heck is on the calendar.
What's on the docket? We've got Thanksgiving holiday the week after, right?
Yeah. What's typically, so, I mean, we'll have some Fed Treasury auctions. Those will probably move the market is my guess. And if the stock market is starting to cool off like it did the last 2 days and maybe today, like that Trump bump that it got, absolutely ripping in the stock market, you might see some money continue to sell off and then flow into the Treasury market next week, which would bring yields down. So we'll see. I actually have not looked at the economic calendar. I'd have to pull something up for next week.
So KP, you're of the three of us, you're the closest to the street, right? You've got the PRMG loan officers, you've got your loan officers that work for your TPO partners. Given this continued uncertainty, right? Given, the continued elevated rates, how are you guys, helping your loan officers help and advise the consumers that they serve? Because I think I'm seeing just a lot of people frozen right now, not sure or certain what they should be saying, how they should be saying it, and just curious how you guys are approaching that with your teams.
Well, we're all facing some seasonal slowdown trends right now, right? I mean, I will say, as a 3-channel lender with retail, wholesale, and correspondent, we've had a pretty balanced approach. Our locks are up in all 3 channels this month, slightly over last month. And this is a shorter month. I mean, if you take out Veterans Day, we're at 19 business days and funding days this month. So, we're staying open. It's kind of weird the way Thanksgiving is. It is on the last week of the month this year.
Right. And
then Friday is the last day. So we always have a skeleton crew in case people want to fund on that Friday. And usually there's maybe 30 fundings. We think there could be as many as 100 that would roll over. We're pretty busy right now.
Good.
That's a nice little tailwind, and the locks are pretending to a better month next month. So, but it does slow down. I mean, people after Thanksgiving just stop looking for houses. They stop listing their houses. They don't want foot traffic through their homes during the holidays if they haven't sold. And so everything kind of slows down between that and the new year. I actually, I did my first, let's circle back next year email to a vendor. And, and so we're.
Thanks for that, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. So I think, once people go back out in January looking for houses, depending on weather, depending on the market, of course, depending on the situation, there's a little pent up demand of people looking for homes between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And so, but that doesn't turn into a contract, which turns into a loan app, which gets into my underwriting center until maybe February. Yeah. So it's just that slow time of year. I will say we've been pushing our HELOC strategy internally and, in our non-QM strategy internally. And I think we're finding homes for, I don't want to say alternative products, but I mean, we are an A-paper lender. We're Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, seller, servicer, issuer. But those products have helped us bridge that gap in this kind of, seasonal slowdown. And I think it will over the next 60 days again.
Kind of a spinoff to that question too is, I feel like we've been in this very difficult market for what seems like years. It's probably been, 18 to 24 months. Do you feel that the loan officers that are still out, hitting the streets and doing their business, that they are just kind of a little bit of immune to it and it's business as usual?
I would say generally, yes. I have started to see a little uptick in the chatter on the Facebook groups that I'm in of people kind of whining, and I get it. I mean, everyone has, their tipping point or breaking point or just wants to get something off their chest. And, the holidays are weird. It gets colder, the days get shorter, some people get sad and even depressed, and it is what it is. You just got to fight and power through it like we have every year. Yeah. This year going into this seasonal slowdown is better than last year, which was better than 22. And I think that's generally the feeling. Now, half of the loan officers are out of the business. And so just from a capacity model, and I think that's why we're having such a good second half of the year, because, rates have gone nothing but up since the September Fed meeting, and our locks have gone up. And so I all I can say is I just think there's just less competition out there. And so you just got to, it's business as usual, get your tech stack in order, get your database growing, mine the database, pound the phones, there's nothing that's ever changed about that. And people want cash for the holidays and, they want to get their finances in order, get their financial fitness in order, as my good FinLocker friend says. I will just add one more nugget, which I think is the way to answer Brian's actual question in the most long-winded way possible. Rates are in a volatile, time right now because, okay, we have certainty on the election, but now the bond market doesn't have certainty on the debt and deficit and the budget and spending. So what does that mean for long-term rates, 30-year long bonds, 10-year, notes, and then, of course, 2-year treasury bills. So the bond market doesn't know, right? And we've pulled through a lot in the stock market. I mean, the S&P is up 44% year to date through Wednesday. It could take a 22% digger, and we're still up 22% if you're just trading the S&P. And so I am not responsible for your losses, only your profits. But I will tell you, a pro move right now would be to sell 55% of any of your position that's had an absolute epic run. Take some profit off the table, let the other 45 run, and then figure it out, between now and Christmas. But getting back to the rate thing real quick, I would tell borrowers that, rates have seen a little uptick. It's a little uncertain right now. There's some volatility. But I think as we start to see more things materialize next year, when there is some certainty with the budget and some certainty with some more economic data and another Fed meeting in December, we can see maybe a more, lightened path of rates. Having said that, if you're waiting for rates to come down, so is everyone else. So buy the house now and then, refinance later, the whole, take the rate, marry the house, dump the rent thing. So I literally was at this Mesa credit card launch party in LA Hills, Beverly Hills last night. It was awesome. And there was this lady, this Russian lady who was friends with the CFO of Mesa, who is, the name is Nadia. She's amazing. She lives in Encinitas. She's helped like Robinhood go public, and like just a very accomplished businesswoman on the CFO side. Her friend said, "I'm waiting for rates to go down." And I said, "So is everyone else. And as soon as it does, there'll be more competition for less houses." And she was like, So, and that's the same conversation you got to have and try and get some people off the fence.
All right, I want to shift gears. There's two other things I want to make sure we at least touch on, because both of these had some good banter going back and forth across LinkedIn. One was, as I mentioned, the JD Power Associates mortgage origination satisfaction survey was released, and there was 2 points, and I think this actually dovetails really nicely into what we just talked about in terms of what maybe loan officers should be doing right now in this slower part of the season, the colder part of the season. So the 2 points that kind of came out from JD Powers was around this concept, and this is consumer feedback, remember, and we can debate all we want about who's on the top of the list. I don't care about who the rankings are. I get more interested in the consumer findings. And across the population of consumers surveyed, this concept of lender as an advisor came out, especially in tougher financial markets. So consumers, by and large, that were surveyed rated the lenders higher that they perceived as more of an advisor, right, versus a order taker, transaction oriented originator. So that was one interesting piece that came out. It had nothing to do with process, nothing to do with ease of technology, all that stuff. This was really around the consultative approach that the lender, and by extension the loan officer, took with these consumers. And then the second piece, and this is where I think loan officers really just need to kind of think about, is overall satisfaction was 41 points higher when lenders engaged earlier with customers. And this would have been earlier defined as before they started shopping for the home, right? And so this is where, the PRMG ethos is, right? It's all about the local originator being the trusted best resource for financial education, financial preparation as it relates to home ownership. And the consumers just spoke through this survey and told us as an industry that they value this early engagement from the loan officer perspective. There's no question here other than I just thought it was if I'm a loan officer today, which I'm not, but if I was a loan officer today, I'd be finding every opportunity I could to have as many conversations as I could with as many people as I could who might be 6, 12, even 18 months out from buying a home or being ready to buy a home?
So I love the results because it proves what we've been talking about. KP and I share a similar and have had a conversation a time or two in the last probably 5 years. As technology evolves, the loan officers are constantly, you worry about adoption. You can't get loan officers to do anything because they're afraid that technology is going to replace them. And always in the technology spiel, it's been like, no, it will help you be able to do the menial tasks that don't mean anything to the consumers with technology, but it allows you more time to be a concierge and to be able to get into deeper conversations and relationships with those consumers. So that's on the first part of, that consultative approach to home mortgages, and then also with the engagement earlier in the process is this concept that we all believe to be true, and putting the loan officer in the driver's seat on purchase business. It's like, the question, we talk about this with the University Federal Credit Union and their members, and we want to know, have you thought about purchasing a home? Is it 2 years from now? Is it a year from now? Is it 6 months from now? Because they have a trust in the credit union already because they're a member of the credit union. Start having that conversation early in the process. If they're 2 years out from purchasing a home, then maybe you talk twice a year, as opposed to touching base once a year with someone who isn't. And then the closer that they get to being ready to purchase a home, then you increase the frequency of your communication, which then goes back to being that trusted advisor. But, I think that's just, I say a lot of things and hope like a thing or two lands over the years, but I definitely think that those 2 points are a testament to what we've been talking about for years.
Yeah.
I may know a guy with an app that could help lenders that want to do better there.
Yeah, we've talked about, no shocker on the advisor part at all, but I love the insight, at least from a data and statistical standpoint. I hadn't heard JD Powers' name in a while until it just popped up. So I was thinking they're like the Better Business Bureau. Like, does anyone even care what they say anymore? But that's just me skewing younger here. But I will say,
Brian cares.
Yeah. But all kidding aside, I actually really do like that insight, because a lot of things that all of us have been working on, in our careers the last several years, is moving our shift, to, Bob Jennings over there, CoreLogic, he likes to call it shift left, right? But us shifting, all of our activities up funnel. I like to say, up the sales funnel, get there a little bit earlier. And, there's, tech out there. You can see, obviously you can see if someone's searching on a website looking for mortgage rates or looking for houses, and you can get trips, and you can follow people around and see if they've walked into, a bridal registry, which means they're obviously, thinking about, growing their family, or a baby home goods store or something. I mean, there's so much stuff you can be doing now. It's a little creepy. But I agree. I mean, trying to get there early in the process. I read every single one of our surveys that come through our company, and the only time, I mean, they're almost all 5-star, but when they're not, like 95% of the time, it's for poor communication.
Yeah.
Mid-process. And so, sales is communication. Is all it is. Like, I don't know, like, we have people that aren't salespeople that think like, let me force you to buy this mattress, like, you don't want it, but I'm going to make you do it. Like, that's not our business. And that's not sales. Sales at its purest form is communication. And so how early, how often, how accurate, how on point are you at communicating? That is, quote, sales. And so I think, if you've got a data-driven tech app, like FinLocker, then, where we rebranded a Path Home at PRMG. I mean, that is a way to communicate when you can't just be on the phone sitting there hovering around your, younger and younger borrower nowadays that don't necessarily want to be on the phone as much as you do. So, there's a lot of different ways to attack this, but I love the insight.
So I have a prediction. So we need to check like in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I've been saying this. So it's like very, leading up to the process of, purchasing a home. It's, you're consulting the borrower, you're getting them purchase ready. Once you get that contract, the faster that you can get in and out of that transaction, the higher the satisfaction ratings. It's the documentation and the like grind and I'm worried about the value of my home. Oh, is the underwriter going to approve me? The faster that you can do that piece, and that's where I think you should be applying the technology, is the faster you can get them from the point of application to clear to close, the higher your satisfaction ratings are going to be in the process, because it's disruptive to their lives.
Yeah, we've as an industry, we've always had this, and I think Paul Lucido will appreciate this. I see he's out there watching. We were the Columbo, right? Just one more thing, one more question, ma'am. We always came back with one more thing for the borrower. And to your point, Jodi, that should just never happen anymore, right? With the technology and the platforms that are out there.
Yep.
Last topic I thought we could
I like the
about.
Columbo. I like the Columbo reference. That was good.
You like that? Yeah. The younger crowd's not going to get it. They're Googling, or they don't even Google anymore. I don't know what they're doing.
Chat GPT. Come on.
There you go.
Siri. I'm trying to set
You
your
just
two
set
phones off.
everybody's off. You didn't get mine.
I'm an Alexa. We're an Alexa shop, so
Nice.
we don't hear Siri. So there was a CNBC clip over the weekend last week. Greg Share kind of clipped it and posted it earlier this week. And the clip was really, speculating or predicting, depends on how you think about it, that with the new administration, with deregulation, et cetera, will we see banks flood back into the mortgage, the primary mortgage space, right? And so
No.
Greg's post had a flurry of comments. I reposted it and kind of framed it in a different way, and it's still got some controversy. I'm curious from each of your seats, what your thoughts are. Will this be the re-entry points? And I'll define banks as really the big box banks, because community banks never really left, right? They're like the credit unions. They're more community and member focused, customer focused. I'm talking, the big box banks.
I'll take a stab at it. So I think, of the larger financial institutions, the ones that are committed to the space never left. And so, now some may have pulled out a wholesale or pulled out a warehouse lending or pulled out a correspondent, and have just focused maybe on their retail footprint. And I think they'll just continue to do that. I just want to make a point. And so so everyone's not narrow-sighted here. Just because we have a new administration now, we may have the other party in 4 years who wants to sue your ass off. And so I don't see, it's a hammer trying to find a nail. It's like, come on, like just work with us, And again, all kidding aside, actually, there's some really great people in our government. I find that the False Claims Act is a pretty big deterrent for a bank to get into government lending. They're like, screw you. Like, you just took a Civil War era, law and said that I did bad underwriting on HUD, and so, and again, I'm not speaking from my perspective. I'm just saying what I see from the banks. The banks are like, I don't want that smoke. I don't want that smoke.
Some of those are 100+ million.
Yeah. I mean, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And so maybe, maybe some lessons learned there that, they'd rather just buy it, close on the back end and have their trading desk. And, and again, I think that, like, if our tech gets a little bit better to enable banks to be a little less people oriented, I think that that's attractive to them. I don't think the ones that pulled out have any interest of scaling back into a very people driven, manual, clunky process. I think they're waiting for tech to get better.
I agree. I think correspondent, those that are in the correspondent channel and buying, it's so much easier, and you can apply a lot of like automation so that you don't have to have a lot of people and a lot of oversight on that side and less headache. I do think like there is a difference between buying conventional and buying government. As a lender, I attended the Chase Housing Summit on an annual basis, and Jamie Dimon, it without fail would rant about not getting into the government lending space, and has a whole lot of very colorful things to say about the government related to that. So I don't.
And he's always kind of the one I'm thinking of when I make my comments. Like they're like the poster child of like, screw you, government overreach. I'm not doing it. I learned my lesson once, fool me once, shame on you, right? So
quick story on it. The last time that I attended, because being a recovering lender, you don't get invited to that show anymore.
Unless you're sponsored.
I was sitting in an auditorium. Jamie Dimon's on stage with his head of mortgage, and Sandra Thompson
was it Terry Lindsay?
I don't know. Is Terry a guy? It was a guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember names.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's great. Anyway.
But so Sandra Thompson is like over my right shoulder, and Jamie just went on a rant about the head of FHFA, and he's like, I know you're in the office, and he's like staring right at her and just like doing a Jamie Dimon rant, and I was just like, I like just kept going lower and lower. Like I felt like I was having like eyeballs stared straight through me.
She's been great. She's had a good run.
She's amazing, and she took a lot of punches for as open as she has been to working to make mortgages and housing better. So she definitely has been a breath of fresh air over the years.
And if I could just say one last thing about her, since you brought her up, I've been in a lot of panels and rooms with her over the last several years, and when she spoke to, I believe it was at NAMBA Connect, where she spoke to a room full of students who wanted to get into our business. I mean, her whole face was glowing. She was happy. She was like inspired and inspiring. And that was pretty cool to see that, because at her core, and I think at all of our core, that's really what drives us, is helping others. And, instead of dealing with the BS of politics and DC and policy, she was just like, you could just see that personality and that happiness inside her. That was really cool to see that side of her, in the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
Love that. Well, guys, that's a great way to close out the last word, presented by Chrisman Commentary. Thanks, Robbie and Rob. Jodi, KP, always great to end the week with the two of you, and we'll see you back here next Friday, same time, same place.
Have a great weekend.
Have a good week. Cheers.